Amy Schumer herself. One fan exposed that Amy is rude to her fans, and even caught the whole thing on video. While Amy was touring in Greenville, South Carolina, she posted a photo of a fan and claimed that he was harassing her to get a photo. The caption said in part, quote, "This guy in front of his family just ran up next to me, scared the out of me, put a camera in my face. I asked him to stop and he said, no, it's America and we paid for you." Apparently she asked him to stop multiple times, but he did not. She finished off saying that she was no longer going to take any photos with fans because of this guy in Greenville. But the fan, named Leslie Brewer, responded with his own Instagram post. He posted a video of his interaction with Schumer, and it was very different from what Schumer described. And in the video, Amy is calmly asking him to delete a photo of her that she didn't like. In response to this video, a source shared, quote, "She's always hated taking photos with fans, even before she had a TV show or a movie. She couldn't be bothered then and she can't be bothered now." After this all exploded, she said she will still take pictures with fans, only if she feels like it.
Kicking off our countdown list at number 10 is Lori Loughlin. The actress and mom was caught in a huge lie that had both her and her husband behind bars. Back in 2019, news broke that she had been caught in a college admission scandal that involved her two daughters, $500,000, and forged test scores. All of these lies were told to try to get her daughter's early admissions into a very competitive school. She and her daughter even faked rowing pictures to try to make her profile better, even though she is not a rower. Like, at all. The truth all came out and the entire family took the heat for these lies. Lori was given 2 months in prison and a $150,000 fine, 2 years of supervised release, and 100 hours of community service. Her husband received 5 months in jail, and her one daughter Olivia Jade, who's in the spotlight, faced a ton of backlash online and was dropped by a lot of her brand partnerships. Up next, number 9 is Bill Clinton. It was one phrase that he lied about constantly, and it was that lie that launched one of the biggest scandals in political history. The phrase being, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." It was his denial about having an affair on his wife Hillary Clinton with a White House intern named Monica Lewinsky. However, the truth came out and involved secret tapes and an ongoing sexual relationship between the two of them. It was his actions and his lie that led to his impeachment in 1998 for lying under oath. Bill and Hillary, who stayed together despite the affair, recently opened up about the scandal in a 2020 Netflix documentary called Hillary. In the documentary, he said the affair was a way of managing his anxieties, and the reason he lied was because of the risk. He admitted that he knew it was bad for his family, bad for the country, and bad for people who worked with him during that time. Some of them knew, y'all. Some of them knew, and they were too scared to tell anyone because they would lose their job. Would you tell? No. That's the President of the United States. I ain't telling shit if I work in the White House. Cruising in number 8, we have Paris Hilton. She has been in a few controversies throughout her career, but one of them led to her arrest. And it just so happened to be the one where she was caught in a bunch of lies. The lie came when she did an interview with Larry King and told him that she had never done illegal substances. She told him she took Adderall and explained that she has ADD and has to take it. However, that seemed to be a lie because in 2010 she was arrested in Las Vegas for having illegal substances in her possession. She was found in a car with her boyfriend at the time when officers saw smoke wafting from the car. They decided to investigate what was going on and they found more than they were expecting. She ended up pleading guilty to substance possession and obstructing an officer. She did not receive prison time, if you remember the story, but she did walk away with a hefty probation, community service hours, and a fine. Sniping the number 7 spot is Flo Rida. Back in 2014, he was facing a huge scandal in his career when his former assistant came forward claiming that he had underpaid her. A woman named Mahogany Miller sued him in 2012, claiming that he worked her to her bone for chump change and then fired her when she complained about the low wages. The lawsuit dragged on for more than 2 years, with the rapper claiming his innocence, lying and saying that her claims were not true. But apparently that was all just one big lie, and she had some evidence to back it up when it came to fighting this in court. She was his administrative assistant and said she worked 65 hours a week while being paid less than the minimum wage. that even legal? In 2014, he agreed to settle it and pay her just under $9,000 and then another $10,000 to her attorneys. Rolling into number 6, we have Steve Ranazizi. The comedian made one of the worst decisions in his career when he decided to lie about escaping the 9/11 attacks. The worst part was he kept up this charade for years until he got exposed. During interviews, he would often speak about how he followed his dream of being a comedian due to the terrifying events of that day. In 2009, he claimed he had been working for Merrill Lynch on the 54th floor of the South Tower when the first plane hit. He spoke in detail about what happened in that moment and everything that he remembered from that day. However, in 2015, evidence surfaced and proved that his story was a lie. There was no record of him ever working in the World Trade Center, and on that day, there was evidence that he was actually in Midtown. The comedian came forward admitting that he lied about the whole thing and said, "I was not at the Trade Center on that day. I don't know why I said this. This was inexcusable. I am truly, truly sorry." Yeah, I ain't got nothing to say. I don't know how you lie about something like that. And why. Anyways, I'll go on a rant. Taking the halfway point to number 5 is the writer James Frey. A report showed that James was caught lying to Oprah and to the readers of his memoir. James was caught lying about many events that were shared in his book. A book that was initially praised for its work on love, loss and addiction, all while being featured for a top pick on Oprah's book club. Though shortly afterwards, the public would later find out that James Frey made the entire thing up, leading for James's career to immediately take a turn for the worse as his agency dropped him and his publisher filed a class action lawsuit against him. Later, James was confronted by Oprah about his dishonesty, with Oprah confessing that she finds it difficult to even talk to him in the interview as she doesn't know what's the truth and what is false. Not to mention the millions of readers that were deceived by his untruthful writing. Moving on to number 4, we have Bow Wow. The American rapper was caught being dishonest when he posted an Instagram picture flexing his private jet and luxury lifestyle. But Bow Wow was spotted by a fellow passenger on a commercial flight in economy class. From connecting the dots, fans were able to trace down the original photo posted on Instagram of the private jet to the stock photo that a fan took on Snapchat and exposed him. After being called out for this, Bow Wow couldn't live it down and was mocked on social media, with the hashtag Bow Wow challenge trending all over Twitter afterwards, of people essentially posting side-by-side images, with the first one being seemingly glamorous and the second image showing the harsh reality. Now, there is nothing wrong with flying economy class, but like, why'd you feel the need to lie, man? Like, did you really think no one would see you on that flight? Taking the third spot on this list is Tiger Woods. Seeing Woods in controversial headlines is nothing new, but this lie was one of the biggest. During a golf tournament, Tiger Woods apparently had a disagreement with his opponent, Sergio Garcia. Later on in the match, Tiger Woods interacted with the course marshals, with the marshals giving Woods permission to swing, even though his opponent was supposed to be going first. This led to the distracting crowd impairing Sergio's game because of the noise that Woods sparked, though when the course marshals were asked about the incident and why it happened, they did not recall giving Woods permission to continue. This miscommunication led Tiger Woods to win the series, leaving a forever standing feud between the two players, as Sergio felt like he was at the major disadvantage due to Tiger's actions, which he kinda was. In recent interviews, Tiger Woods has actually admitted in multiple interviews about his deceptive behaviors, and even stated that he was living a lie and that he did this because he found it fun. Cruising through to number 2, we have the infamous Kanye West phone call to Taylor Swift. This crazy story starts with Kanye purposely leaking video and audio footage of the conversation that he had with Taylor over the phone. The leaked footage made it seem like Taylor gave full permission for Kanye to use the line, I quote, "I made that boop famous" in one of his new singles. But in reality, Kanye never actually read that line to Taylor, and he put the explicit lyric in his song without her consent. After Kanye leaked the edited conversation to the public, many people were quick to send Taylor Swift an absurd amount of hate, claiming that she was in the wrong because in the audio Kanye leaked, she was clearly fine with being mentioned in the song that way. Though nearly 4 years later, the truth would come out with the full unedited edited conversation being actually leaked, with this version showing the full story and how Taylor never actually gave permission to Kanye. And during their phone call, Taylor clearly felt uncomfortable when asked if it was okay if she would be mentioned in the song, but Kanye did not seem to care as he proceeded to make jokes about it. With the shocking news that Taylor was wrongfully accused this whole time and undeservingly given hate by millions of people on social media, many felt instant sympathy for her. I did, but I never believed Kanye anyway. And last but not least, taking our number 1 spot, we have the Tonya Harding incident. Tonya was a very successful competitive figure skater that was praised for her dedication and outstanding skills in figure skating. After being the best in her craft, she began to be challenged by Nancy Kerrigan. Nancy was a figure skater that had a long-standing rivalry with Harding, and it ended up being that Nancy was the one person in the way of Tonya making her way to the Olympic team. Tonya's greed for success led her to scheme against Nancy to hire a hitman to intimidate her with a club. The hitman acted accordingly and promptly hit Nancy on her knee, leaving Nancy injured and unable to compete. With a full investigation going on about the attack, the team behind the attack would confess in the planning behind it, though Tonya insisted to not be involved. Later on, Tonya and Nancy would compete against each other, and with Tonya being on the bad side of the karma, she ended up coming in 8th, while Nancy took 2nd place. In due course, after the competition, the evidence mounted against Tonya continued to grow, and she eventually pleaded guilty to the attack. Everyone was waiting for that, leaving her with her figure skating titles taken away from her, and she was banned from the USFSA forever.
At number 10, we have Miss Get It Fresh Fergie. Now, Fergie was a super hot topic of conversation in the early 2000s. She was a part of the musical group Black Eyed Peas, which saw her collectively dominating the charts and industry for a few years. But that sudden success took a startling halt as she began to lose mainstream success by 2009, in light of the Black Eyed Peas' extended hiatus and her lack of chart-topping singles since 2007. Still, I'm sure nothing could prepare Fergie for her final memorable performance to date, because it was unfortunately not her best. She took center court at the 2018 NBA All-Stars game to sing the US national anthem, and what should have been a simple boost of confidence for her stumbling career instead turned into a theatrical, overly sensual, semi-comedic, and overall inappropriate choice of creative direction, which soon became the talk of the town for not so great reasons. Her performance is quite painful to watch, but I will say it's a known fact that this roughly 2.5-minute rendition further plummeted Fergie's drowning reputation, and was pretty much the end of her. The performance had fans and players in attendance attempting to stifle their laughter out of respect, while cameras awkwardly panned around the space, trying their best to capture them breaking their poker faces. Some were even caught red-handed on live television, and to say the least, they're much better than me, because I would have been slapping my knees with tears running down my face by the end of it. This performance caused waves on social media, and shortly after, another wild performance of Fergie cartwheeling on GMA in 2008 resurfaced. The internet's lack of ability to take Fergie serious as an artist reemerged as they practically dragged her name through the mud. To be fair, the US national anthem seems to be career-ending for so many celebrities. However, I feel this means Fergie should just be banned from performing on all live TV shows if they're just gonna keep memeing her every time. At number 9, we have the once beloved American chef Paula Deen. Her attraction in the media was instant, and she was admired worldwide for her vast cooking skills and seemingly great personality. Until people got a dish of the real Paula, and it's safe to say many were left fuming when her truth was revealed. A former employee named Lisa Jackson sued Paula under the grounds of racial and sexual discrimination. She was accused of attempting to host a plantation-themed wedding for her brother, complete with black servants, as well as regularly used racial slurs such as the N-word, all of which she later admitted to during testimony. Paula claims she picked up her idea from another restaurant where she believed the concept was, quote, beautiful, really impressive. According to The Guardian, Paula even tweeted a since-deleted picture of her son in brownface following her 2015 Dancing with the Stars appearance. But despite her excuses, Paula's actions spoke far louder than her words, and she was now deemed top racist rather than top chef. She took to apologizing on the Today Show to try to smooth things over. However, she played the victim the entire time, so it wasn't believable nor tasteful in any way. Lucrative partnerships like MasterChef were pulled immediately once major corporations severed their ties with her, and Food Network reacted accordingly to her verified court statement, where they refused to renew her contract despite several apologies. Karma is a dish best served cold, I guess. At number 8, we have married duo Natalia Kills and Willie Moon. Their blow-up on contestant Joe Irvine during an X Factor New Zealand filming was quite literally career-ending. Natalia was joined alongside her husband as they berated the man. Natalia proceeded to mock Joe on live TV by going on a rant about how Joe was trying to be a carbon copy of her husband. Quote, "As an artist who respects creative integrity and intellectual property, I am disgusted at how much you've copied my husband. From the hair to the suit, do you not have any value or respect for originality?" Now, Willie's comments seemed a bit more personal, and quite frankly a lot more harsh. He added more fuel to the fire by comparing Joe to Norman Bates in Leatherface. He called Joe creepy and alleged how he would steal someone's face and assassinate everybody in the audience. These two gained the brand as the nastiest TV judges after the incident aired and their careers vaporized. The two faced severe backlash, and as a result they were fired. And well, karma came in full circle, I guess, because I haven't seen nor heard from these guys since. Natalia legally rebranded herself as Teddy Sinclair shortly after, but there's no forgetting her or her husband's trashy 2015 ways. I for one will not be supporting their now banned Cruel Youth, and honestly the world should really just do us all a favor and ban them before they ever try to make another live TV appearance again. At number 7 we have everyone's favorite controversial talk show host Steve Harvey. Now Steve has several backlashes that can be deemed worthy enough to get the boot from live TV, but for the sake of time I'll only break down a few. Let's start with the one no one can ever forget, because this pop culture moment in history will never go down without a fight. The 2015 Miss Universe show saw Steve name Miss Colombia as the winner, when in reality it was Miss Philippines who took the crown. The host spent weeks apologizing for the embarrassing mix-up, and the world understandably took forever to move on. A few years back, Steve made an appearance on Tyra Banks' talk show where he informed her that no woman should be dating an atheist. In January 2017, Steve spewed a racial joke against Asian men on his show in 2002, which he was heavily criticized for and later issued a public apology. On an appearance for The View, Steve made a controversial comment about gay men in reference to them not being, quote, real men. He was quickly checked and corrected by another host on the panel. Steve had a segment on Good Morning America where he hinted that you cannot stop a man from coming onto you once he's interested, because, quote, men don't care what women do, in response to a caller politely inquiring how to turn a man down. So, moral of the point is here, he's made sexist, homophobic, and crude remarks, and he's also messed up the winner of one of the biggest pageant shows in the world. With all these controversies attached to his name, there's no wonder more than half of Hollywood is still so persistent in getting this guy off live TV. And to be fair, I don't really blame them. At number 6 we have comedian Jamie Kennedy. Now Jamie was already at the brink of his career for his TV miss, but he once found major success in the late 90s and early 2000s through 3 separate Scream movies, Romeo and Juliet and The Jamie Kennedy Experience. Where it all went wrong though was his 2012 hosting for The First Night 2013 with Jamie Kennedy. This special was an entire disaster filled with major technical issues and overall embarrassing unprofessionalism. It was dubbed as one of the worst New Year's Eve specials of all time and was the final nail in the coffin for Jamie's career. Jamie spent the night not knowing where the stage manager was when they were back on live and was super confrontational the whole time. He even missed the initial countdown because he inaccurately counted down the new year wrong. There was also the literal on-stage physical fight at the very end of the broadcast, where Kennedy says, quote, "There's a fight, it's ending with a fight." I mean, I know we all make mistakes, but if one can't even get this kind of live broadcasting right, I don't know, maybe Jamie does deserve a subtle boot. At number 5 we have Robin Thicke and the mess that was Blurred Lines. 2013 seems to be the year of all controversies because in this case, Robin found himself tangled in a huge web of online backlash due to his music video being deemed misogynistic and overly sexual in regards to the women featured in it. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, here came Miley Cyrus and Robin's 30th MTV VMAs performance back in 2013. This track both made and broke Robin's career because his popularity flew off the rails when the racy, legendary, viral, and widely criticized performance went on to be plagued as far too raunchy and overall unsettling for viewers to watch. Since then, Robin's re-emerged into Hollywood as a judge on The Masked Singer, but Hollywood has pretty much already cancelled the guy. Therefore, they may as well just ban him from live TV while they're at it. But what do you guys think? At number 4 we have Kathy Lee Gifford and her horribly embarrassing trip up on her show in 2012. This experience of public shame stemmed from Martin Short's appearance from Madagascar 3 Promotions, where during the interview Kathy hassled him with loads of seemingly harmless questions about his marriage to his wife Nancy Dolman, except for the fact that she was clearly unaware that Nancy had passed away almost 2 years prior because of cancer. Kathy continued to sail praises for Martin and his late wife, not picking up on the social cues of how uncomfortable Martin seemed to be speaking about the topic. Martin informed Kathy of his former wife's passing during the commercial break and made sure not to expose her unawareness to embarrass her any further. He also publicly accepted her apology, and his professionalism in handling the situation was praised by many, whereas Kathy rightfully caught the short end of the brutal netizen comment train after broadcasting. This slip-up didn't exactly exile her TV career entirely, as she remained a talk show host for Today until 2019, but it definitely tarnished her reputation and caused severe damage to how the world perceived her as a host. I mean, if you can't be bothered to do your research before your guest comes on live television, you may as well be banned from hosting live shows, period. At number 3, we have the Queen of Pop, Mariah Carey. Now, I may be cancelled for this one, but hear me out. I know it's next to impossible to end a legend like Mariah, but she nearly did this herself during her performance on Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest back in 2016. Mariah's earpiece malfunctioned, which caused her to fall out of timing with the backtrack of music, but she handled the mistake super unprofessionally, which further pushed netizens' points of Mariah being a washed-up diva who needs to stop performing. There were loads of passive-aggressive comments from the singer while she sauntered around on stage, complaining about the lack of sound check, rather than continue like a professionally trained artist. Her backup dancers outshined her as they continued to dance as if nothing ever happened, while Mariah just kept pouting. This for sure tarnished her reputation to be taken seriously in the industry, but definitely didn't break it, as I'm not quite sure how that would ever be possible. I think our Queen of Pop should definitely stick to pre-recorded performances from here on out though. Matter of fact, we should start a petition to ban her from ever committing to live performances again. At number 2, we have the infamous Taylor Swift vs Kanye West VMA's 2009 incident. The rapper was seen storming onto stage mid-show to seek justice for his good friend and other musician Beyonce, who he felt should have received the award in place of Taylor for Best Female Video, where both ladies were nominated. Fans could see Taylor trying to maintain a level head as soon as West departed the stage, but Taylor later used this dramatic string of events for inspiration in more than one of her next songs, which is basically her whole brand as an artist. Kanye eventually apologized in 2009 during a Jay Leno interview, but still, with all his recent outbursts lately, I personally don't feel as if Kanye should be asked to appear on any live TV shows for a long time. At number 1, we have the lip-syncing queen, Ashlee Simpson. She was caught not singing live on Saturday Night Live, where a different song than the one she was originally supposed to perform began playing, and what sounded like Ashlee's voice, even though her mic was nowhere near her mouth. Lip-syncing on SNL is deemed a huge no-no, so you can imagine how awkward it was to watch Ashlee somberly walk off stage seconds after the music started. To say the least, the way things were handled were super embarrassing, and Ashlee continuously blamed it on multiple things and people. Her latest reasoning was on the Andy Cohen show, where she explained how she allegedly woke up with vocal nodes stacked in her throat and should have declined performing at the time. Of course, mistakes happen, but still, when it's one this big, the only thing I can say is Ashlee will never be able to perform on live TV the same again.
Starting this list off at number 10 is Brandy. We have seen celebrities fake relationships in the past as a publicity stunt, but this one was one that just went too far. The singer and actress announced back in 2002 that she had gotten secretly married to a music producer, Robert Smith. She said they had a private wedding and kept it small. The relationship went on to be featured in Diary Presents Brandy, Special Delivery, which documented the birth of their daughter. Everything seemed to be genuine and normal, but in 2004 the truth came out and it was revealed that the two of them had split. Brandy went on the Oprah show and revealed that they had never actually been married in the first place and said that they lied. She was 6 months pregnant when she had gotten married, and she only lied about it because she didn't want people to judge her for having a child without being married. She ended up using her Oprah interview to issue a public apology. Is that forgivable? I mean, I don't care. What difference does it make? But I guess in the special, the show she had, it was all about their marriage and like baby, and it's like, you're not even married. Up next, number 9 is Jussie Smollett. His big lie was one of the biggest scandals in Hollywood in 2019, and it is still ongoing. Back in January of 2019, news articles started flooding with headlines that Jussie was involved in a hate crime after being attacked by 2 men. The reports claim that he was attacked with a rope around his neck and that they poured chemicals on him while yelling homophobic slurs. The 2 suspects were arrested, but in court they revealed that it was all set up by Jussie and showed a check that he had paid them to stage the entire thing. thing. On February 21st, he was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report and was charged with 6 counts of lying to police, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. But prosecutors ended up dropping all the charges. However, the Chicago police argued that he got away with it because of his celebrity status, so an investigation was opened and he is now set to head to trial. As of right now, at the time of this recording, reports say his lawyers have been given an additional 2 weeks to prepare their arguments. The tea. Swiping the number 8 spot is the White Stripes. Jack and Meg White were adored as band members in the famous rock band, but people thought they were siblings because that's what they told everyone. Turns out that is not true at all, and they were actually once married. A marriage license surfaced online revealing they were married from 1996 to 2000. At first, the two of them denied the license was real and kept the whole sibling story, but then it was revealed to be real. Seems like a strange thing to lie about, in my opinion, right? Apparently the reason they lied is because they didn't think they would be taken seriously as musicians if they were a couple in the band, so they just told people that they were siblings and stuck to it. But how awkward would that have been if someone caught a picture or something of them kissing or holding hands or something? I don't know, I felt like that's so risky. Moving on to number 7, we have Kim Kardashian. She has been called out on numerous occasions for photoshopping her pictures, but it seems she took things a little too far in her latest Skims campaign. She released her ad for her shapewear brand Skims, and Kim can be seen drawing a finger over her hips and down into the dip of her waist. But as her finger trails down, it distorts and squiggles across the curve of her body. Immediately, people started calling her out, saying that there was a huge Photoshop fail and that it was very obvious, and questioned how she's selling a shapewear brand if she's going to sell it by photoshopping her body. Kim personally avoided the whole scandal like the plague, but her team removed the ad campaign and released a statement saying it was, I quote, an error as a result of the video losing its quality during the uploading process. No one bought that excuse, which was a straight up lie, because I work in film and I've had videos edited and I've edited videos and I've exported them, and that does not happen, even in the quality of the processing. Come on now. It didn't glitch anywhere else, just when she did it on her waist, y'all. Cruising into number 6, we have Lance Armstrong. The wildly successful athlete was caught in the most sophisticated and successful doping program the sport has ever seen, according to the US Anti-Doping Agency. People were shocked when the news first broke, but he later admitted it during his interview with Oprah that he in fact had been taking substances. But there was much more to it than just him taking them. He was involved in a professional doping program. He was stripped from his cycling titles and dropped by all of his sponsors, including Nike Inc. and Livestrong, and he was also banned from professional cycling races altogether. He ended up reaching a $5 million settlement with the government, but his career has never been the same since. In 2020 though, fans got to learn a lot more about the situation when a documentary called Lance came out, so if you're wanting to learn more on his career, the scandal, everything, go check that out. I've been intrigued. I have not, because I'm busy, but I have been interested. Halfway through our countdown at number 5, we have Kylie Jenner. Back in 2017, people were going crazy online about the rumors that Kylie was pregnant. Fans started speculating online and doing a deep dive on all her posts trying to prove that she was pregnant. Even paparazzi were doing all they could to get a photo that proved it, but she and her family kept denying it in all of their interviews. After she finally revealed the truth to the world, she explained that she lied about it because this was the one thing she wanted to not share with the world. Even her producers who filmed Keeping Up with the Kardashians with her said she hid it from them during filming her Life of Kylie season. But Kylie recently announced she is pregnant with her second child, and she is sharing this pregnancy with the world this time. You can't hide anything from fans. Or paparazzi. They always find out. In spot number 4, we have Brian Williams. The journalist, who is the father to actress Allison Williams, repeatedly told a story that claimed while he was on a reporting trip to Iraq in 2003, he was riding in a helicopter that came under fire and had to do an emergency landing. The story was believed every time he told it, until soldiers who were actually in the helicopter he was referring to came forward and told the truth. They revealed that Brian was not actually in the helicopter with them and said that he and his crew had actually arrived on scene about an hour after the helicopter performed its landing, which is obviously a very different story than the one that he was telling people. After being caught in the lie, he immediately apologized and claimed that he must have made a mistake and gotten his memories of the day mixed up. How do you, come on. Oh, I just thought I remembered I was on this plane that went into flames. Like, give me a break, people. Taking over the third spot is Ed Sheeran. Now, this one isn't as serious as the last one, but it is very funny. Back in 2016, he was sporting a new look that involved a cut on his face. When asked what had happened, he claimed it happened at a party with James Blunt and Princess Beatrice. Apparently, James jokingly asked Beatrice to knight him, and when she grabbed the ceremonial sword, she accidentally cut his face in the process. It seemed like a very random and strange story, but people believed it because, hey, weird stuff happens at parties all the time, especially when there's alcohol involved. But a year later, James spilled the beans about what really went down and admitted that the whole story that Ed told was a lie. Turns out Ed was just drunk and he was messing around and accidentally cut himself. He said that they thought it'd be really funny to make up this crazy fancy story, and then when people actually fell for it, they just stuck to it. And if you're wondering, Princess Beatrice had nothing to do with it, she was just randomly thrown into that story. Sniping number 2 spot is Rebel Wilson. While I'm sure a lot of people would like to lie about their age, I know I would, you can't really do that when working in the acting industry. In 2015, an Australian magazine called Women's Day published an article that called out Rebel for apparently lying about her age, name, and certain claims about her upbringing. Her initial age was believed to be 29 years old at the time, but the magazine revealed she was actually 35. Also, her birth name is Melanie Elizabeth Bounds, and she apparently did not have the upbringing that she has talked about in interviews. Now, Rebel never admitted to lying, she actually did the opposite. She filed a lawsuit against various publications because many media outlets also claimed that her real age was 35. She never fought against the claims being true or not, but she said that painting her as a liar had affected her career and ability to land roles. Earning our number 1 place is Martha Stewart. I'm sure we were all equally as shocked when news broke in December 2001 that she was allegedly involved in an insider trading scandal. Insider trading is where an individual buys or sells stocks that they have in a company using information that is not available to the public. That is what Google told me anyways. Don't quote me. An investigation was launched after she had denied being involved in anything, but it turns out that she was lying. She repeatedly denied doing any wrongdoing, claiming that she had an agreement with her broker to sell the shares if they went below a certain price, but that was proved to not be true. Martha ended up getting charged with security fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. She was sentenced to 5 months in jail and 5 months of house arrest after that, and 2 years probation, and later had to pay $195,000 to settle a civil case with the Security and Exchange Commission.
So coming up first on the list, we have the NDAs. Now, confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Now, over 500 of Oprah's staff members were forced to sign the document, and one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was apparently stopped by the courts as she was still tied to the agreement that she signed. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just show secrets safe, but to keep any and all of Oprah's personal secrets safe as well. Now, according to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everyone in her life, on and even off of set. It's said that she may have this look of sweetness and kindness, but that's not how she is at all. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. Then in 2010, a lawsuit was filed against Oprah and her company after Unica's Performance Training claimed that they were fired for violating the terms of her agreement, specifically involving advertising with her name or the website of the show. Now up next, we have her stepmom exposing her. Now on air, Oprah is portrayed as a wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmom, there is an unknown side to Oprah, hidden from fans for years. Now according to Barbara, who is her stepmom, Oprah may be one of the most controlling people you will ever meet in your entire life. She claims that Oprah would not allow them to stay at her house when they tried to visit, forcing them to stay in hotels with money out of their own pocket. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with several people being fired and left and right over the years, but couldn't come out about the situation because of the NDAs. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows Oprah to stay at her house for her visits, something that Oprah actually hated. The first time she stayed over, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels were not big enough. This woman has billions of dollars to do anything she wants, and what she wants is to make her family feel like a burden. Next up on the list, we have the supplement overload controversy. Now, Oprah has had plenty of controversial people on her show, from so-called medical experts to psychologists to celebrities. Now, whatever is good for TV is good for Oprah. Now, one particular incident that caused a ton of backlash for Oprah was when she did an interview with Suzanne Somers. Now, she was brought onto the show to share her beauty secrets on how she was able to look so young. Now, according to some, this treatment that she does on a regular basis will help, and Suzanne claimed that she rubs estrogen cream into her skin on one arm and smears progesterone into the other arm, and progesterone is a fancy way of saying steroids. She claimed that she took 60 supplements and vitamin A's a day, which was 40 in the morning and 20 before bed. What really stirred the pot was that this woman claimed to be a health expert and a self-author, but surprise, surprise, she actually was not. Medical experts actually started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy would actually be the cause of several diseases and illnesses like cancer. Now, despite Suzanne's claim that her specialty made non-FDA approved bioidenticals are natural and safe, they are actually just synthetic, conventional hormones that you can buy from a pharmacy. Now, Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that the methods were useful, even claiming that she had used the methods herself that made her feel so incredible. So this lady would rather risk her audience getting cancer than just telling the truth. Up next, we have her billionaire advocacy. Now, Oprah has been claiming to be many things since the Maui backlash has begun. Now, a good boss and a charitable woman and an advocate for the island of Maui. Now, by starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she had made her mark in the public as a woman who cares. So much that she is asking you to give her money. Isn't that so sweet? The main reason that people believe that Jason has not spoken on Oprah is because he knows that she is an absolute phony. So as mentioned, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have vested stake on the island. Now, Oprah has had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her at times. When the fire started raging, she started fundraising. Up next, we have what the free and free really means. Now, who could forget Oprah's famous words, "You get a car"? Now, this moment was historical on her series and has been said over and over and over again. However, what almost no one knows is that it's not as simple as here, take the keys and drive away. Now, when someone gives out anything on television, there is always a catch. Now, for Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they actually wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they would actually have to pay over $7,000 in taxes first. Now, while Oprah's studio would cover the sales tax and registration for each car, the audience members were given a choice to either pay $7 grand and take the car, or simply just take the cash instead. Now, the infamous moment on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be their new car. Now, everything has a catch, even now. Now, for someone who is known for being charitable and generous, the word free clearly meant something different to Oprah. Now, up next on the list, we have Stand Up Cindy. Now, Cindy Crawford, who is a model and actress, has called Oprah out over their 1986 interview that took place on her show, where Oprah asked the then 20-year-old to expose herself to the crowd. Now, Crawford reflected on the interview in a new documentary called The Supermodels. The documentary focuses on the careers of several models like Linda Everlist and, of course, Cindy Crawford. Now, in a clip from the documentary, Winfrey is heard introducing the then aspiring supermodel to the Oprah Winfrey Show before she asks, "Did she always have this body? This is unbelievable, stand up." She actually made her stand up, and then she said, "This is what I call a body." Now, Cindy, as anyone else would be, was visibly uncomfortable and was standing up for the studio audience as they cheered when they showed off her figure. Now, according to Cindy, she felt like a child at the moment being told what to do by her superior. Now, she felt that at the moment, she was more of a show us why you're worthy of being here. Now, at the time, this was just some weird thing Oprah asked her to do, but it morphed and mutated into one of the most uncomfortable moments of her early years in modeling. Now, the most shocking thing for her was the fact that Oprah Winfrey, trying to tell her what to do, the woman known for her kindness and generosity, made her feel like a puppet. Now, up next we have Where's the Beef? So in the spring of 1996, the United Kingdom apparently experienced an outbreak of mad cow disease. Now, according to the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat the infected meat, we'll basically get sick and turn into zombies. But they can actually contract a deadly variant called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Now, during the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lyman, who was a rancher who adopted a vegetarian lifestyle and went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cow to Americans. He pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cows to already infected cattle or other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that those types of practices were common in the US. Now, Oprah was visibly disgusted and right then and there vowed that she would never eat a burger again. Now, her influence and her millions of viewers were so large that only a few hours after the episode aired and she declared she'd never eat a hamburger again, the price of beef stock plummeted, staying at an all-time low for over 2 months. One Texas rancher actually lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action lawsuit against Oprah and her show for talking trash about American beef. Then, after a 6-week trial, she actually won, leaving one man with no farm and out of $1,000 in legal fees, all because she was disgusted. Now, up next, we have Oprah's stance on weight loss. Now, Oprah Winfrey has been called out for using weight loss medication despite being a longtime ambassador for Weight Watchers. Now, the famous talk show host has confirmed that she uses an unnamed substance to help her control her weight. Now, in a revealing conversation, Oprah said her new slim figure is thanks to the medication and a healthier lifestyle overall. She said, "I now use it as I feel I need it, and the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like a relief, like a redemption, like a gift, and not something to hide behind and once again be ridiculed for." She went on to say, "I'm absolutely done with the shaming from other people and particularly myself." However, the fans felt the billionaire was being hypocritical given that she is a proud spokesperson for Weight Watchers, a company she has worked with since 2017. Now, next up on the list, we have her exposing herself. Now, Oprah is top on the list for getting exposed because she has been doing it to herself since day one. Now, her talk show is all about bringing the most vulnerable people onto the show to get views. She's brought violence victims, health experts, and fake psychologists and convicted felons onto her programs, all for the sake of profit. As the years went by, her style was adapted by more and more studios, creating shows like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, both equally as controversial. Now, not to mention a few years ago when she wrote a book detailing her early life and rise to the top, revealing some truly dark truths about her life at home. Now, she herself was considered to be a menace by her own family, but it seems to be whatever negative juju lived in the house rubbed off on Oprah 100%. Now, last on the list, we have Seal and Hank. This man may be known for his vocal chops, but he should be known for his meme-making abilities. Now, just days after the Golden Globes, Seal posted a meme on Instagram consisting of several photos of Oprah Winfrey cozying up with a man whose name I am not allowed to say on the internet because he is so horrendous. Now, he is the guy who produced half of Quentin Tarantino's movies, and he was actually the main cause of the Me Too movement, and for the rest of this segment, he will be referred to as Hank. So Oprah and Hank were photographed spending time together, and one photo even made it look like Oprah was pushing singer Rita Ora toward Mr. Hank. Now, Seal captioned the image saying a bunch of stuff that I can't quote here, but the meme itself said, "When you have been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you are the solution." I'm not sure how deep this feud goes on, but from the surface it seems that the Seal has been trying to warn us that something is up for years.
Number 10. Crosswalk Karaoke. James is a multi-talented performer, priding himself on his singing abilities and acting chops. So of course it would make sense he wanted to add a bit to his series called Crosswalk the Musical. In this bit, Corden would invite his guests to learn a brief musical number for various musicals like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. Now what's the twist? Well, they would perform the number in the middle of rush hour traffic in Los Angeles. In between the shifting lights, they would just stand in front of stopped traffic and have dozens and dozens of people dancing and singing in the streets. Now, kudos to the editing team on Late Night. The bit is usually well done and the audience is usually pretty into it. Camera footage from multiple drivers exposed that the reality was the actors were lip singing, but also like yelling the lines, and they would take their sweet time getting out of the way of traffic due to the amount of film equipment, as well as just the sheer volume of people on the freeway, to the point where in one instance James was actually hit by an impatient driver. They were doing La La Land at the time, but I really wish they had been doing Cats. That image would just be hilarious. Number 9. Short temper. Fans will recount nothing but good times for the Late Late Show. The host is so bubbly and happy-go-lucky. What would he even look like angry? Well, unfortunately, the staff of Balthazar, a small French restaurant in New York City, witnessed firsthand the wrath of Corden when his wife accidentally was served a salad and an egg yolk omelet with just a little bit of white accidentally mixed in. He had it sent back, shouting at the waiters, only for the dish to return fixed, but it now had a side of fries instead of salad. And for some reason, he was furious about that. Like, if someone took a salad away from me and brought me a plate of french fries, I'd be stoked. Now, he went on a tangent, reportedly causing the server to have some sort of panic attack and they needed to be replaced. And on top of that, the owner of the restaurant, Keith McNally, then publicly banned James from ever entering his store again, claiming he was the most abusive customer to his Balthazar servers that he has seen since the restaurant opened its doors 25 years ago. Corden later apologized for the incident and was invited back, but as a former server, I can safely say there is always going to be just a little bit of egg whites in your omelet from now on. Just a little. Number 8. Lies detected. Now, in one of the show's more popular bits, Late Late Lie Detector, Corden asks his guests to hook up to a lie detector test and answer a series of questions on air. During one segment of this bit, in which guest Kris Jenner is hooked up to the line when she is asked about her involvement in producing a certain tape, if you know, you know. She was quick to roll her eyes and shake her head and said, no, no, no. And then the expert gave a resounding, true. Case closed, right? No. Not even close. Because the next day, Kim Kardashian's ex-boyfriend Ray J blasted the show, calling the segment fake, claiming that the man giving the test, John, was underqualified. Going on to call the network sad for allowing the segment to be aired and threatening to sue Corden and the show itself. A little digging was done and it turned out that there were some truths to these claims, as John's LinkedIn profile revealed that he had attended a number of unspecified lie detector academies, which sounds made up enough, but it also says that he has a bachelor's in law, but that he didn't actually finish the course. If you need further proof that this man in question was a phony, well, Kris responded to the question, "Who is your favorite host?" with, of course, James Corden, and the man once again gave just a monotone, true. Number 7. Asian food petition. The Late Late Show features a segment called Spill Your Guts, where guests either have to answer difficult questions or eat the disgusting foods presented to them. While the foods that are presented to the guests are meant to be off-putting and encourage them to answer the questions as an alternative, many of the foods are actually popular dishes from various Asian cultures. He presented foods like balut, century-old eggs, and chicken feet, mixed in with items like fish eggs and animal excrement. Corden would openly call the food horrific and disgusting, inciting outrage from many fans and inspiring a petition to begin on change.org. They wanted to have the segment wiped entirely from the program. And after over a month of petitioning, the Late Late host responded, saying that they would no longer be using any Asian foods on his show ever again. Number 6. Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick Stewart is best known for his performance as Charles Xavier in the X-Men franchise, but he's also well known for being a sweetheart. At the Glamour Awards several years ago, he was presenting an award when a certain late show host was spotted backstage. Stewart tells the audience that Corden was backstage with his hands in his pocket, looking like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. And of course, Corden ran out on stage to defend himself, telling Stewart that he couldn't have been more wrong, which prompted Stewart to make a joke about seeing James's tummy from across the stage. This caused James to get right up in Patrick's face and demand him to explain the punchline, and of course he was immediately asked to leave the stage. Many speculate that something like this must have been planned, but so far there hasn't been any proof or evidence suggesting that this was staged. This took place well before his restaurant fiasco, so it showcased just how bad and short-tempered Corden really can be. Number 5. Demi Moore's book. Spill Your Guts makes a brief return on this list, because in 2019 Corden invited Moore on the show to promote her her new memoir entitled Inside Out. During the Spill Your Guts segment, Moore asked Corden, "In the green room, you said you loved my book. What part specifically was your favorite?" Now Corden paused and fumbled, saying, I love the part about the drugs. And he then caved and admitted that he actually didn't read the book. But he did love the pictures, so that's gotta count, right? As a late host, you don't have to read every single book or watch every movie or TV show that's put in front of you, but at least be upfront about it. He apologized for lying and said that he just wanted her to feel better before eating a big old spoon of cow blood and pork tongue jelly. Yummy. The only reason this lie was ever exposed was because of the segment, but you gotta wonder, how many other guests have been told what they've wanted to hear over the years? What else has he really not seen or read? I don't know, comment your ideas down below. Number 4. Carpool karaoke. One of Corden's most famous late night bits, carpool karaoke, where James invites a celebrity guest to sit in his car, drive around the city, and sing familiar and top charting songs. Sounds wholesome, right? No, you're wrong. After a photo surfaced online in 2018, evidence showed that James was actually never driving the cars during this segment, and that they were simply carted around town on a trailer. Not only does this mean that James was lying about the bit, but anyone who got into his car was lying too. Honestly, I think he should have just been forward about this from the beginning. It actually would have added a new comedic level to the bit, knowing that famous people were being pulled around in what was essentially a $40,000 wagon. Now he claims the trailer is for safety purposes, but hey man, if you can't drive and sing at the same time, are you actually living? Number 3. Soap slander. Hollyoaks is one of British television's most popular soap operas, airing in the early evenings on Channel 4 since 1995. In the early days of his career, James actually appeared in a single episode of this show and used that footage to help launch his future career. Now, proudly placing the role on his resume for years, his lies were revealed when during an interview on The Late Late Show many years later, he took the opportunity to bash the show, saying that he'd rather die than return for another episode, and that it was absolutely awful. He claimed that the cast were filled with a quote, chicken in a basket like sense of fame, and that they would always talk about moving to LA. Like, hey man, what's your problem? People can't have dreams? Ricky Whittle, best known to American audiences for his work on The 100 and American Gods, played constable and nightclub operator Calvin Valentine on the series from 2006 to 2011, and was very quick to defend the series and dish out some verbal knowledge of his own, reminding Corden how childish it was to be slandering a series that essentially gave him a career. He then joked about not knowing who James played in James's own series Gavin and Stacey, being like, is he Gavin? Is he Stacey? Who knows? Personally, I don't. Number 2. The Prom. The Prom hit Broadway in 2018 and earned 7 Tony Award nominations. The musical is about a bunch of narcissistic New York theatrical actors who use a small town controversy, which is that the high school in the town won't allow a female student to take her girlfriend to prom, as a cause to cynically embrace and promote themselves. The film version was released in 2020 and starred a stacked cast, including Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and look, it's James Corden. Corden was ecstatic about his performance and made sure to let everybody know just how proud he was. Unfortunately for him, that pride quickly turned to shame as critics began slamming his performance. You see, Corden plays Barry Glickman, possibly the most self-absorbed of the New York contingents. The character is also openly gay, while Corden is not, and his interpretation of the role was iffy. He continuously leaned into gay stereotypes, performing what many in the industry called gay face. Despite the negative receptions, Corden was nominated for a Golden Globe, but the award ultimately went to Sacha Baron Cohen for his performance in Borat 2. Very nice. Number 1, show me the money. Talk shows are simple. You get a few cameras together in a nice studio with a solid band and some furniture, and you've got a show. However, most talk shows don't include extravagant bits like street performing and singing in a trailer car thing hybrid. They may be able to put it together and make us believe that everything is good, but this stuff costs a lot of money. You gotta pay cast, crew, catering, and Corden himself reportedly made over $5 million a year on the program, which is a lot considering the show has had a regular budget of $65 million a year, but has consistently only brought back $45 million in revenue. The only way the show was ever going to be able to stay on the air was if Corden himself partook in a multi-million-dollar pay decrease and had brutal staff reductions. So instead, he opted to just cancel the show entirely, which would be one thing if it was his show, but this was The Late Late Show. It's been around since 1995, first being hosted by Tom Snyder Snyder. He's taking away something he didn't even create, and now, instead of only some people losing their jobs, everybody loses their jobs. I don't know, A for effort, I guess.
10. Jussie Smollett. In January of 2019, famous actor Jussie Smollett walked into a Chicago police precinct and reported that he had just been the victim of a hate crime. He told the police that two strangers began shouting racial slurs. While one was just yelling at him, the other was pouring chemical bleach onto him before they both held him down and tied a rope to his neck. He claimed to have suffered severe rope burn and was physically ill from the experience. But as we all know now, this isn't exactly what happened. These so-called strangers were actually two brothers who worked with Jussie on the set of the hit series Empire, and according to inside sources, Jussie paid the brothers $3,500 each to help him stage the event, planning every single detail right down to the precinct visit. The proof that all of this was a rouse made up for publicity was the fact that the altercation conveniently took place directly in front of security cameras. An investigation took place that found ample evidence that Smollett had set himself up. They found receipts for the ropes used during the altercation left in the assailant's home and a way to hide the evidence. There was also security footage taken from a store where the brothers can be seen trying on and purchasing ski masks, gloves, and red hats. I would pay anything to see that footage. It would be so funny now. At the end of the day, Jussie was forced to serve 150 days in prison and pay the Chicago Police Department over $300,000 for wasting their time and resources. So before you all get mad about how I pronounce his name, I just want to remind you he faked a hate crime. Focus on that. 9. Kim Kardashian. The reality star can be tight-lipped about the cosmetic procedures she's undergone and has repeatedly denied plastic surgery rumors, but on a forthcoming episode of The Kardashians, she seems to make a surprising confession. In a peek at season 3 shared by her sister Khloe Kardashian on Snapchat, Kim is seen taking voice lessons. While talking to her vocal coach, the Skims founder admitted she couldn't use her neck muscles to sing because half of hers were probably Botoxed. Kim admitted to having a little bit of Botox in a 2012 Allure interview, but claims she's had no filler. She stated, "I've never filled my lips." While this may be true, back in 2010, Kardashian suffered facial bruises after getting Botox before she turned 30, an experience that was documented on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kim claims that the surgeon warned her of all the possible side effects, as they should, but because it was the first time receiving the procedure, she flipped out in front of the cameras. Since then, Kim has steered clear of any more Botox-related procedures, claiming she felt a constant burning sensation for days afterwards, being some of the most painful moments of her life. 8. Ariana Grande. Now it should be no surprise to learn that Ariana Grande is not 100% a clean, clear cover girl. The Sam and Cat star and world famous musician dropped some truth during her Vogue Beauty Secrets tutorial last week. Grande shared with the world that she has had a ton of Botox and lip fillers over the years, but that she was ready to go back to the way she was. For a long time, she was getting regular injections and surgeries, but according to Ariana herself, she stopped seeking those treatments in 2018, claiming that she felt like she was hiding herself from the world and was tired of being hidden behind a fake layer of herself. She went on to say that the decision to stop was also motivated by her wishing to see her natural features again, like her smile lines. Now she said she may get a facelift 10 years or so down the road, but compared to the invasiveness of Botox, that should be a chill Tuesday for Ariana. 7. Kanye West. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. While the altercation didn't take place on camera over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he had some pretty harsh stuff in reference to Miss Swift. Taylor was very vocal about her dislike for the song and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian called Taylor out online, claiming that Taylor had approved her lyrics over the phone. Kim uploaded a Snapchat video that alleged Taylor did in fact say that Kanye can do whatever he wanted. The video included clips of Taylor that fans pointed out were edited to take her words out of context. In retaliation to this situation, many fans have claimed that several songs from her 2017 album Reputation were made in reference to Kimye, including the line, "This is why we can't have nice things." In 2020, a full version of the video Kim posted was released, proving that she did in fact edit the footage to make it seem like Taylor was on their team. In reality, Taylor never approved jack squat. Who would have guessed that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were big liars? 6. Belle Gibson. Belle Gibson was a famous Australian influencer who was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 20 years old. According to Belle, she ditched the traditional chemotherapy route and instead decided to undergo alternative treatments like oxygen therapy that somehow worked, or so her thousands of followers thought. In 2013, Belle used her story to launch a health and wellness app called The Whole Pantry. She made a public vow to donate 1/3 of her profits to charity, was able to secure a cookbook contract with acclaimed publishing company Penguin, and Apple pre-installed her iPhone app on all Apple Watches. Kinda like when U2's new album just suddenly opened on your iTunes, like, I don't remember buying this. What the heck did I do last night? Not long after her rise to fame though, she claimed that the cancer had re-emerged basically everywhere and lamented about the short time she had left with her family. But as it usually does, the truth set her free. According to media outlet Who, the app's proceeds never made it to the charity, and former friends of the blogger voiced their suspicions to the point that 2 journalists from the Sydney Morning Herald took on the case, like detectives in a movie from the 30s, like, "Don't worry sweetheart, we'll solve the case." After a fairly minimal amount of sleuth work, Gibson was forced to reveal that she had in fact faked her diagnosis for media coverage. The aftermath involved a civil suit being launched against Belle by Consumer Affairs Victoria, and a judge ruled that she may be suffering from psychological or psychiatric delusions at the time, but was in fact found guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct. That's a thing you can sue people for? I gotta make some phone calls. 5. Kylie Jenner. For years and years and years, Kylie, along with everyone else in her family, has denied the involvement of cosmetic surgery on camera. Throughout the history of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, there have been an immeasurable number of clips that will go down in the history books. Seriously, somebody should give this lady an Oscar. After a long time of not telling the truth, the internet called her bluff. Now, I've been told we can't talk about the challenge that happened a few years ago because people were actually getting hurt attempting to recreate Kylie's perfect plump lips with little no juice glasses, a painful lesson that Kylie did not intend to teach. Well, Kylie decided to let the cat out of the bag and inform her fans that she did in fact receive fillers to achieve her look. She then urged people to stop doing the challenge as it could not only leave permanent damage, but it also just made her look bad. Revealing the truth is one thing, revealing the truth because you might be in trouble, a whole other story. 4. Lori Loughlin. Who could forget the college scandal from 2019? Oh wait, you did? Well, allow me to refresh your memory. In 2019, a massive conspiracy was proven to be true when several A-list celebrities were exposed for bribing schools and their admissions to allow their kids into school. The situation had been going on for almost 10 years before justice was served. Lori, along with several celebrities like Felicity Huffman, were exposed to the media and a very public trial began. For years, these people were claiming that their kids were the best and the brightest and that they could do no wrong, when in reality, they were just scrolling on their phones waiting for mommy to drop a check off at Harvard. Over 40 individuals were eventually charged and brought to justice. High-level academic and athletic schools like Stanford University, Yale, and the University of Texas. It was revealed specifically how much the schools were making, while in Lori's case, anyone who agreed to admit their 2 daughters would receive $500,000 in one lump sum. Several students were either expelled or removed from the admissions list as a way to save face. For Lori, well, she went to prison for a few days and was made to do 250 hours of community service. Lesson learned. 3. Steven Rannazzisi. You may recognize Steve from his role as Kevin MacArthur in the hit FX series The League, or perhaps from his many stand-up and television specials. What you may not know is that Steve's a big old liar. Steve first moved to the west coast of the United States only approximately 1 month following the events in New York in September 2001, when he first tried to break into the comedy scene, he claims that he found it difficult to fit in with his fellow comics and would indulge in stories to get a word in conversationally. Essentially, when he introduced himself and told people he was from New York, at the time the events were fresh and everyone was curious, "Were you there when it happened?" Much like a lot of comedians, he started telling them sarcastically that he did in fact escape one of the towers before they fell, but before he could say "nah, just kidding, that never happened," the conversation had moved on and he was now seen as a survivor. Needless to say, his story made its way through the scene and his career seemed to be on a rise. It was only a few short years later that he would be a main cast member on The League and would go on to write and star in several TV shows and films. In 2009, Steve told Mark Maron his tall tale, even adding details like, "Yeah, I worked on the 59th floor, second tower. Man, it was tough getting out of that one. I actually broke a few bones in my hand and took weeks to heal." Not long after the public exchange, the New York Times did a little detective work and discovered that he had actually worked in Midtown Manhattan at the time, nowhere near the incident. He's apologized for the lies and realizes now that people probably would have liked him just fine without the lies. Whoa, lying to make people like you is wrong? Blows my mind. 2. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who was unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claim that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that live inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing they were claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was some kind of mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than create more of a problem. He was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling world. 1. Milli Vanilli. Taking the top spot on our list is the infamous musical duo Milli Vanilli. In 1989, the duo of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus were on the top of the world. A fairly unknown crew had quickly raised to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 list. They began performing their hit song in front of thousands of fans across the world and they were hooked. Until very shortly into their rise to fame, they were performing in front of 80,000 people at a theme park in Bristol, Connecticut. They took the stage with their well-known dance moves and started singing, but when the chorus came, it stayed, repeating over and over again on a loop. The track they had been lip-syncing to was trash and the truth was revealed. Not only did they not sing a single note of their hit song, Girl You Know It's True, but the song itself was actually stolen from another group a few years prior. Milli Vanilli were a disgrace, and what was worse is that only a few days before, they were exposed to the world that they had won an award for the tune and were forced to return them.
Starting off this list, we got Beyonce. After Beyonce released the hit album Lemonade, Amy thought it would be funny if she made a video of her and some of her snatched cast members lip-syncing along to it. The video featured Goldie Hawn, Wanda Sykes, and Joan Cusack. Even though the video was released on Tidal, seemingly approved by Beyonce and Jay-Z, it got tons of backlash from fans. Most of the claims centered around the fact that regardless of approval or not, this was not Schumer's work to parody. Some also felt it was particularly tone deaf for them to parody a song about black empowerment. Amy addressed the backlash in an article, admiring how the album brought women together. But Amy didn't address the key issues that fans had, making it clear that Amy didn't understand why it was out of place. Next up, Tammy Pescatelli. Since Amy Schumer has become an A-list comedian, she's been accused of joke stealing on many occasions. Most of the drama took place on Twitter, where Kathleen Madigan, Wendy Liebman, and Tammy Pescatelli all alleged that Amy stole jokes from them. Pescatelli was the most vocal, tweeting, quote, "What's always been amazing to me is that she purports to be a feminist, yet only steals from other female comedians. If we all call her on it, we are jealous or career shamed. Be successful. We want you to do well, just do it with your own material. By the way, she blocked me." One of the jokes was from Kathleen Madigan, where she said Oprah was so rich she could hire someone to slap food out of her hand as a weight loss tool. The joke that Amy stole from Pescatelli was talking about how women will dress their boyfriends so horribly that nobody else will want to date them. Amy used this joke in her movie Trainwreck. Next up, Equinox staff. Amy Schumer can be pretty full of herself. She made that clear when she pulled the "Do you know who I am" card at a New York City gym. Basically, she tried to walk into the Equinox without presenting her membership card, which is standard policy. One employee said, quote, "She felt entitled to just walk in. She didn't want to show her key fob and wanted to be able to go in and not be questioned." Apparently, when the employee asked for her ID, Amy replied that she's famous. The source added, quote, "It was clear that Amy wanted to go in under the radar and not even stop to have the desk clerk look up her account on a computer." Apparently, Amy was so peeved about the entire experience that she left the gym altogether. Next up, Jackson Murphy. Jackson Murphy, a 17-year-old film critic who took a photo with Amy at the Critics' Choice Awards, tweeted a raunchy caption along with a photo of him and Schumer, and it totally backfired. Schumer is known for her self-deprecating humor, specifically relating to sleeping around. So the critic posted a photo of the two of them with the caption, quote, "Spent the night with Amy Schumer, certainly not the first guy to write that." Even though it was a lighthearted jab, Schumer tweeted back clearly disappointed. She wrote, quote, "I get it, cause I'm a whole glad I took a photo with you. Hi to your dad." Jackson quickly apologized once he realized her feelings were hurt, claiming he thought she would like the joke. Schumer later tweeted back, quote, "That's really okay, honey. I just remember thinking you and your dad were sweet, and it was just a bummer to read that." Some people felt that Amy had the appropriate reaction, but others felt she was way too harsh on the teen for a simple joke that she makes oftentimes about herself. Next up, Steve-O. While Schumer and Steve-O were on the panel for Comedy Central's roast of Charlie Sheen in 2012, she told a joke that many felt crossed the line. At the time, Steve-O's good friend and collaborator Ryan Dunn had just passed away in a drunk driving accident. Amy's joke was, quote, "I truly am, no joke, sorry for the loss of your friend Ryan Dunn. I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it?" The camera then panned to Steve-O's face, and he was not laughing. Fans immediately came to his defense after the special, trashing Schumer, but Steve-O actually came to her defense and said it was a good joke. While on the Big J show at KRSQ Hot 101.9, Steve-O said that Schumer asked him for help to calm his fans. Steve-O agreed, saying, quote, "Hey everybody, it was a roast, you know, where people say mean things to each other on purpose. That silly little was just doing her job. To this day, she will not apologize for the joke." Next up, Ashley Graham. Like I said before, Amy Schumer is very self-deprecating, and she often talks about how her body is not model-esque. But it seems that she doesn't like when other people put that label onto her. When Glamour magazine included Amy Schumer in the 2016 Chic at Any Size issue, alongside plus-size stars like Melissa McCarthy, Adele, and Ashley Graham, Schumer was offended by her inclusion. She shared her thoughts on Instagram, writing, quote, "I think there's nothing wrong with being plus-size, beautiful, healthy women. Plus size is considered size 16 in America. I go between a size 6 and 8. Glamour Mag put me in their plus size only issue without asking me or letting me know, and it doesn't feel right to me. Young girls seeing my body type thinking that is plus size." Although many understood Schumer's point, some were confused, as she constantly speaks about not being super skinny. She even said at the Glamour Women of the Year Awards, quote, "I'm like 160 pounds and can catch a D whenever I want." Ashley Graham didn't like the sentiment and clapped back in Cosmopolitan, saying, quote, "Amy talks about being a big girl in the industry. You thrive on being a big girl, but when you're grouped in with us, you're not happy about it. That to me felt like a double standard."